All right, welcome to the Gamebreak Now podcast, your ultimate destination for in-depth coverage of the NBA draft. I'm joined alongside today with two very special guests, Conrado and Julian. Over the course of this pod, we'll be diving deep into all 60 selections from this year's draft, alongside additional prospects who are making waves. We'll analyze each player's fit to their new team, break down their draft grades, and explore the impact they could have on the league. Whether you're a diehard basketball fan or just getting started into the excitement of draft season, join us as we explore every angle of the NBA's future stars. All right. Well, we're going to be breaking down 60 prospects today
I think, yeah.
and more. And more.
I think for the most part, each of them kind of gotten their feet wet in the summer league. So more or less.
Has anyone not played Summer League yet? Out of the 60?
There's one team that starts on Monday. I forget who it is.
We'll have to go down the list, but yeah.
I don't remember which one though.
I feel like one of the top picks didn't play, but I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
We'll go through them and see what we feel about those.
Clearly, it wasn't a memorable performance. No, I'm kidding.
All right. So starting at the very top, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Looking at the Atlanta Hawks and what they did last season, we can just go through offensive and defensive stats. It looks like they were ranked 21st in field goal percentage, 2-point field goal percentage. They were ranked 20th. Defensive rebounding, they were ranked 22nd.
Yeesh.
In blocks, they were ranked 26th. All right, so let me go back to my screen share. There we go. Got to move you guys up into the top right corner. There we go. All right, they also allowed the 28th most points, 22nd blocks, steals, assists, rebounds. Didn't hold their
it's a lot of red
opponents very well. Yeah, they're looking for somebody on defense. Yeah, so I would say that the most needed aspect of their game is probably defense. Maybe a big man. It looks like their rebounding was pretty bad on defensive end, but they did rank 6th. Looks like they look to address possibly defensive woes here. So with the first overall selection, they selected Zachary Rissache. Do you guys believe that it addressed their needs there?
No.
No.
Yeah, I mean, forgive me for being terse, but no. I mean, not just to stick to my original pre-draft thoughts, but when we had our mock draft, even though in my heart I didn't believe they were really going to take Klingon, I felt like he was the guy they should in terms of addressing the team needs that you just described there. No, I don't think they really addressed any of their defensive woes, at least not in terms of rim protection or overall like rebounding. But again, I mean, now that we've seen some of the moves they've made, trading away Dejounte Murray, it seems like they're kind of undergoing a soft rebuild, a little bit of a reset. So I mean, like, you take last year's stats or the last couple of years' stats with a little bit of a grain of salt, I suppose.
Yeah, they're a weird one, dude, because I think if Jalen Johnson doesn't have the season that he has last year, like the Hawks are a train. I mean, you look at the roster, you've got 4 or 5 guys making over 20 million a year, and Clint Capella. They traded Bogdanovich, but he was up there around 20 mil. DeAndre Hunter, and obviously Trae Young. And like the DeJounte Trae fit was a disaster. Like it didn't work. So now I kind of look at it as okay, maybe now you're pairing 2 wings together, and kind of hoping that that works. But I still think Trae Young is at his best when he has a pick and roll big. And Okongwu's fine. Capella's probably gone. it feels like weird for them to go for a wing with their number one pick. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's an interesting fit for sure. But if you see, I'm going to play devil advocate here. What was one of his best skills is on ball defense coming out of jail Borg. He is projected as a 3-and-D wing. Um, their defense is horrible. Now, where is he going to slide? I mean, what is he going to do? They re sign DeAndre Hunter? Theoretically, Jalen Johnson. I mean, you can't have three wings out there that aren't the most athletic. I mean, they're just shades of each other, sort of to a certain extent. So, I don't know if it fully addresses what they need. I think he offers some defensive help that they may be lacking. Um, team fit, what would you say for Zachary Risache? A through F, or A plus through F? You really want to get exciting?
I'll give him a C minus.
Oh,
I can't give the number one pick in the draft an F unless it's Anthony Bennett or Markel Fultz. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I think Julian and I are kind of in the same ballpark. I was oscillating between C minus and D plus.
Okay.
See, the thing is, again, like I feel like that grade would be a lot different if it turns out, like say by the end of the summer, like you said, Capella's gone, DeAndre Hunter's gone, everything. Then this is a completely new team, right? They're actually building a new team identity. At which point, then he's going to be part of that identity. But as it stands now, like I don't think it really fits. And personally, I mean, he was still ranked in my top 10. I think I had him at 8 or 9. But I just didn't even think he was the best prospect available. So for me, I can't give him anything higher than a C. So
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think I'm going to err on the side of a C in this situation. Um, since it is the team fit with the roster, yeah, I'll go with the C. I think Conrad had a really good point there, being there's so much uncertainty coming up that if they do decide to build around two wings, like Julian also said, um, what happens to that team's identity going forward? And I do believe they don't have a draft pick next season. So I'm wondering if they're not trying to shoot for upside with Risache somehow with his development.
Forgot about that. They traded their pick for
Spurs, right?
DeJounte.
The Spurs still own it. And the Spurs have been kind of coy with regards to making that available, which I
Yep.
totally understand. So
I agree with the C grade. In this situation, we're gonna compile the two on this one. Since there is two lines, I didn't want to throw you guys off here.
yeah.
This is gonna be an overall draft grade for the team. So Zachary Risache's fit with the Atlanta Hawks is a C for us. Just too much uncertainty and doesn't really fit the need that they needed. Moving on to our next guy, picked at 43 is Nikola Jurisic. What are you guys' take on that?
I mean, got a chance to watch him a little bit, run the offense a little bit in their summer league game. Um, I mean, given where he was picked as a second rounder, I mean, I like his control of the game. It's hard for me not to, I mean, you have to bake that in to his eval. So, I mean, I like he's shown a lot of control, the ability to actually control tempo. That stood out to me the most. I'm not really sure. It's early. I'm not really sure what like his scoring, his individual scoring upside is, but as kind of like if we're viewing him as a backup, kind of like throwback floor general, okay, I can buy into it.
Yeah, it's funny. I wonder if he replaces Kobe Buffkin. Uh, it's early to say that. Don't get me wrong, because he was one summer league game, but he looked good. And this is kind of Kobe's prove it year because he
Mm-hmm.
was a disaster this year, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to throw Dursic out there just to be like, all right, let's see what a lineup with a big guard looks like. Who can, like Conrad said, like control the tempo. Uh, I think he's actually going to be on the roster. I don't think they're gonna. I think that they're bad enough, and that he'll show an whoopsies.
Keep going. I don't know.
And he'll show enough in summer league that like he's gonna be on the roster and I think get minutes. Like not Trae Young minutes, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 10 to 15 minutes a game at some point during the season.
Yeah.
And
Let's see. Should we pause? Or
yeah, you want to pause the recording? What in post?
moving off LaMelo? That was weird pause. Yeah, it doesn't seem like, these timelines match up or anything like that. They just seem so disparate. So that's that.
All right. Kevin Cross. He's a guy that plays hard. I think I would give him a B minus. I don't know if he's gonna make the roster. There's a lot of people on this Hornets UDFA who got some really good invites, and I just added them to the list because they could have been on the draft guide or they were fringe draft guide guys. Um, Overall, what are we thinking for the draft itself for the Charlotte Hornets?
C minus, C. I know there are a lot of B's on there, but come on, that's not draft, man. I can't get off of the Swan pick. Like
No,
it's hard to convince me like this is good. So that's why I'm saying like fine, maybe C minus, but
you're being really nice, Conrad. You were being
okay.
really nice.
Yeah, I'm giving that. I don't think they drafted an NBA player that's going to be on their team in 5 years.
I think there's more Kevin Knox in T. Salon than people give him credit. Sadly.
Okay. All right. Give him the
That's
F then.
hard.
You don't even need to explain that. All right, we get it.
So yeah, I don't like that draft. I don't think KJ Simpson's weight, kind of like Nikola Jurisic, I don't think the weight of that pick really takes into account what they did at 6. So I in my opinion, I would give him a D, but um I'm cool with whatever grade we're giving him. Charlotte frustrates me.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Pretty definitive.
All right.
Okay.
Looking at the Chicago Bulls. At 11, they took Matas Bozelis. They're looking for some shooting there. Maybe a playmaker, 22nd in points. Looking at what they did okay. They defended the 2 pretty good. Their defense wasn't tragic.
Yeah.
Without Alex Caruso, I don't know what that may look like. Alex Caruso was a big part of that wing defense.
Yeah.
Is Lonzo Ball playing basketball this year?
Yeah.
I mean, he appears to be on track. I wish him the best, but
I saw him dunk. I also saw Ben Simmons shoot a 3 and make a 3 the last 3 off seasons. So take that with a grain of salt. What you think?
I mean, again, I'm biased. I think you guys remember Matas was number 1 on my big board. So looking at it in that lens, yeah, I'm gonna give at least the draft grade. I'll go ahead and there. I'll say I think it's an A. In terms of the team fit, I mean, it's well documented. They're trying to get off of Levine. They're trying to get off of Vooch. They already traded away Caruso. Seems like they're kind of pivoting towards like maybe like Kobe White, So I just think there's going to be an opportunity for him to kind of like, really be able to experiment, try to expand his skills, his all-around game. So I like it. And his first his first game in summer league. Overall, I thought he looked good. I think his best stretches or his best moments were on defense as a help side or weak side defender. Offensively, I think he's got a little bit more than I understand the skepticism, in terms of the shot creation and the shot making. But I mean, I think there is like some fluidity to his game. Let's see how I'm curious to see how he's gonna. Like I think he needs ideally he should benefit playing with Kobe White. I think there was a little too much clapping the hands in summer league, right? Like kind of clapping the hands, give me the rock. But hey, he's the featured player for this summer league squad, so it is what it is.
Some of his quotes are hilarious, by the way. I just keep seeing like Matas Buzet. Didn't he? What did he say? Didn't he say something crazy about Ricochet before the draft?
Oh yeah, he's like basically it was like the most backhanded comment. I respect him, but I'd bust his ass.
Yeah,
So,
I love that dude.
yeah,
I absolutely love that. Uh,
I feel like
personally, I go
he's trying too hard. Trying too hard.
Matas.
Yeah, he's trying too hard to prove people wrong.
I think if I don't think he could have gotten a better landing situation than Chicago.
No.
To be honest. Like, I'm not his biggest supporter personally. Like, I definitely saw some holes in his game. Uh, he's just kind of like I think he's just kind of clunky. And the thing is, though, is like I think he's a guy who needs to be given the opportunity to do whatever. Basically, like he's a give me the keys and let me figure it out kind of player.
yeah,
And Chicago's perfect for that right now. After they trade Zach LaVine in 2 seconds for an expiring contract.
Yeah, I think that I didn't love it on draft night, but reevaluating things and looking at the roster construction for next season, I think he is going to be given a lot of rope to play with
yeah,
to see what he's going to be able to do and what he's not going to be able to do at the next level, which is all you can ask for as a prospect. So I think that looking at the draft itself and where he landed at 11, I had him as a top 10 prospect.
mhm,
I think he was like eighth or something like that. I really thought the Pistons were going to take him because of that possibility and shooting upside with positional size. But him landing in Chicago, I don't think you could have asked for a better spot because they are a rebuilding team and there's so much uncertainty going forward with all the possibilities of Zach LaVine, Vucevic, some of these other guys, and DeMar DeRozan just left. So I
oh
think
yeah,
he's going to have a lot of time to play and get NBA reps next season. So year two might be a little bit more of what people expected out of him coming out of high school.
right,
Um,
cool,
team fit. I think honestly, I think team fit. He has to be an AA minus.
yeah. I'm gonna say straight A.
Yeah. I think I agree with A minus.
In the draft grade, I mean, they only had one selection here. I think we got to run it across the board. I think that's fine.
A's across the board.
A.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
was good. Chicago really surprised me with that. I thought they were going to take somebody like Devin Carter who can really step in like right away. But Matas Buzelis, who I project him to be one of the highest possible ceilings in the draft,
Yeah,
um, with one of the lowest floors too. So it really kind of sways there. What and that's where the varying of opinions come into is what is a ceiling? A ceiling is probably pretty high if you can put everything together. And I think
yeah,
that's what they're swinging for is trying to get somebody that can go in and be an impactful player for at least 3 to 4 years while they kind of change their trajectory back into a winning culture.
All right.
Next, we got the Cleveland Cavs. The Cavaliers took Jalen Tyson at 20. Let's go ahead and see what they did with their stats last season. Looking pretty good. They were a pretty solid team last season. It looks like free throw attempts, somebody getting to the line. Offensive rebounding is a little low. Block. And points. I mean, they were slower offense last season. That's kind of to be expected.
Yeah.
All right, Jalen Tyson at 20. What do you guys think?
I mean, now that we've seen that they've been able to retain Donovan Mitchell, it's still undetermined whether or not they're going to bring back Isaac Okoro. I feel like the more time goes by, it's less likely. So all the more they need, like, even when they had Okoro, I think they still needed to kind of improve their depth on the wings. So he definitely fits an area of need. I like that he can play with both Mitchell and Garland. Like, he can be mix and match in those lineups. Just gives them a little bit more versatility, different looks. I think their wing players are a little bit, they're good, they understand the role, but a little too one-dimensional at times. Whether that's, if you consider Niang a wing, Levert's got a little bit more juice, but still, I think he's a little bit more predictable. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think given that for the time being, it seems like they're going to move forward with Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, I guess Jarrett Allen. Like, he seems like he could slot him in any of those lineup combinations, and for that reason, I like it.
Yeah, I'm with that. I definitely think they made probably the best pick they could have made there. Maybe trying to think of who was on the board around there. Maybe if they wanted to go for like another wing, but there weren't really that many wings available.
Yeah.
So given that, like, Tyson is a dual threat guard who, again, like, the experienced player for a team that's trying to win now.
And he gets to the line a lot. He draws a lot of fouls. I think that he'll slot in if they're looking to move Levert. I think he can slot in really well for that Levert role. And he's an older guy, so it might be more impactful in the short term. So they're a win now team, and I think they took at 20 somebody that can help them win now. Team fit, what do you guys think?
I mean, I'm going to give him an A, personally. I mean, I don't see how he doesn't fit with any of those guys. So, yeah.
Yeah, same here. Like, I can't really think of any. I mean, unless it turns out Tyson can't play at an NBA level, which, I mean, clearly, I don't think we believe that he can't play at an NBA level.
Johnny Davis.
Yeah, unless that happens to Jalen Tyson, I think it's a good pick. A for me.
I'm cool with an A as well. He was inside the top 20 for me. He started creeping up draft boards. All right, DJ Burns, the big man. He's fun to watch. I'm watching him in the summer league. I like him.
He's just fun, man. The whole DJ Burns Final Four run was cool. He's probably not an NBA player, but it was cool to watch him cook in college.
Yeah.
I'm kind of under the same assumption there. DJ Burns team fit. Yeah, I'm cool with giving him. I mean, theoretically, these guys probably won't make the roster. Maybe with the charge, but I would give him like a C. I mean, he's fun.
Yeah, get some post playing summer league. Get somebody to body up Zach Edey.
Exactly. Darius Brown.
Steven absolutely loves Darius Brown.
To me, I'm like you said, like with DJ Burns, to me, none of these guys are really gonna make the roster. Um, I feel like they're all just gonna be in Canton. And I'm a big proponent of the G League. I'm just saying, like, in terms of whatever the Cavs want to do next season, like I don't see these guys factoring in. Frankly, I think there are guys currently on the Canton charge that have a better
Amani
shot.
Bates.
Yeah, like yeah. Uh, even yeah, Bates. I'm still a believer that Zaire Smith could be an NBA contributor, you know, but
Don't ever mention that
Okay.
name.
hey, it's not
Interesting.
his fault,
Interesting.
right? That adversity is not his fault.
5 years removed. 5 years. 5 years.
So,
He's been developing for
but
5
yeah,
years.
so I mean, I don't mind giving him like a C, but I think again, it's just good, like project players, you know,
I'm cool with C's for all of them.
yeah,
Tomlin's
Not
interesting just because of his size and ability to handle the ball. That's the only
yeah,
thing that I would mention other than C's across the board.
yeah.
yeah. That's I think Naquan Tomlin, if anybody out of the summer league would make a run for a roster spot within the next 2 years, it would be him. Draft grade. What do you guys giving the draft grade? I don't think the UDFA guys really factor in that much.
You know,
So Jalen Tyson,
I mean,
what are we
personally,
giving him?
I'd still stick with an A.
Yeah, I think they made the
Yeah,
right choice.
Yeah,
they did a good job.
I think they maximized, yeah, their draft position.
All right,
Uh,
the Dallas Mavericks.
Ah, Rodney
Interesting.
Hood,
Melvin Ajenka at 51 out of St.
Rodney Hood with a lightning fast first step. Okay.
That's crazy. What did they do last season? I mean, he's a second round guy. I don't really know what they were really looking to address with the second round guy. It looks like their field goal percentage against them was 47%, which ranked 20th. Free throw percentage was a little bit low. Rebounding numbers weren't exactly great. Looks like they needed to address it with possibly another big man. I don't really know how that would work with the development of Derek Lively next season. I think he's going to have a bigger role going forward. Him and Daniel Gafford kind of played
Yeah.
really well together in the playoffs. So I think those numbers should look a little bit better next season. Did they address their team fits with Melvin Ajenka?
I believe yes, I think it contributed to addressing one of their needs. I think now that we've seen their moves in free agency, it's clear that they're prioritizing either, well, improving the overall depth and versatility on the wings. So, obviously, let's throw Klay Thompson in there, right? Because at this point in his career, he's more of a small forward. You have Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, now even Melvin Aginsa. I think at least offensively, their wing players last year were pretty good, but again, a little too one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Like obviously, Luka and Kyrie will be handling the rock like 90% of the time, but still in those moments where either they're being double teamed or blitz, you want those guys to be able to do something, a little something, maybe off the dribble. So I think yeah, Ajinsa, if he eventually cracks the rotation, I think he can offer some of that. So for that reason, yeah, I'd say he addressed one of their needs.
Moving away from Josh Green was interesting, I think.
I mean, they essentially traded Josh Green for Klay Thompson. I mean, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I mean, I guess take your pick, right? What did they
Yeah,
prioritize more? So
exactly. They're a win now team, and I understand that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's definitely interesting. What would you guys say for Melvin Aginsa, as a team fit if you were to give it a grade?
I'd
At,
say
at
B.
51, yeah, at 51, they're just kind of looking for somebody who can possibly play some defense and some shooting. That's kind of what his MO is to offer some shooting upside.
Yeah.
He's got a really nice looking shot. He's a lefty. I would go with a B. I mean,
Yeah,
nothing too
same.
crazy.
Yeah.
They aren't shooting for the fences here, but he does offer some upside. At 51 too.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with a B.
Consensus.
Sorry, I'm peeking at Summer League box scores because Alex Sarr is trending, and
Yeah,
now I
that game.
realize it's not trending for the right reasons. So,
Oh yeah,
What is he doing? 6 points. Oh, he shot 5 threes today. Nice. He shot 5 threes today.
hey, that's not a bad thing.
see,
That's
beauty is
like
in the eye of the beholder, man.
we'll get to who I
Yeah.
really like in summer league in a little bit, but the confidence to shoot 5 threes in a game is what I like to see.
Exactly.
This
That's what Summer League's for.
The Rockets Summer League team is also stacked
Dude,
Yeah.
it is insane.
for what
They
it's
have the
worth.
reigning MVP playing for them for some reason. I don't know why
Yeah.
Cam Whitmore's out there. I don't know why.
I don't
There's
either.
no reason. He's not proving anything.
He's already like he's a rotation player at the
monster.
very best
Yeah.
team.
He's a monster.
Okay. Well, let's finish out Dallas. So
Yeah. Melvin with a B. I'm cool with that
yeah.
for sure. Who's screen sharing?
Oh, I am.
Oh, okay. Can you throw a B up there?
Yeah. Xavier Johnson, Jamarion Sharp.
Yeah, the big man. The big man.
The
There's the Zach
Come on,
Edey
Guru.
killer. The Zach Edey killer.
They brought him in as Zach, and you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna call him up from the G League,
Just to play Memphis.
before the playoffs. Yeah, get into playoff series with Memphis and throw him out there to knock out EB.
That's crazy. Xavier Johnson's a really cool player. He was on my radar this year. He's a little bit undersized. I think it's about 6 foot, out of Southern Illinois. But his scoring numbers were pretty impressive at that level. It's cool to see him get a shot. I mean, I would go with the C because I don't think he cracks the rotation or even gets a roster spot next season, but he does have that scoring ability that could translate into the G League. And then Jamarion Sharp.
If he's the Zach Edey counter, does that give him an A?
That's crazy. I would be willing to give him more than a C though.
I think it's a B, like at best a B minus, probably a C.
I'm cool with whatever. He's a cool prospect. I just love big men. Taco Fall is cool. Anybody over like 7'3" is crazy to me. So all right. Who do we have next on the board? Oh wait, we didn't give an overall. And just translate that over.
The
To
B.
give
I think
them
B.
a
Yeah.
B. Yeah. Overall grade for the Dallas Mavericks, a B. Now, if we scroll down just a little bit,
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we have the
Okay.
Nuggets next. This is sad. This is really sad. With their
Damn,
only
dude.
pick, I didn't realize they didn't only had one pick.
Because they cleaned up in undrafted free agency.
Yeah, I'd
did.
say this is the one where undrafted free agency like legitimately affects their grade.
Yeah.
Because they might have gotten potentially 3 NBA players in undrafted free agency.
Yeah.
And BJ Hall, Trey Alexander, and Jalen Williams. Like those guys 100% are going to be on their G League roster. I would not be shocked if in the next year or two, at least 2 of them like play minutes for the Nuggets.
Yeah. If I had to get, well, first of all, let's start out with a little bit of optimism. Big man Guru, why don't you give us your thoughts on Deron Holmes
I'm so sad.
as a draft, just in terms of his fit when he was drafted, let's say prior to his summer league appearance.
Okay. So for those who don't know, as of right now, Deron Holmes tore his Achilles. So he is out for the season, but there's a few things that are really, really cool about him as a prospect. One, the way that his offensive game developed. And I think that's the most interesting thing about it. Because he went from being a screen setter who could post up sometimes to a guy who literally ran the Dayton offense through the post to a guy who started initiating the Dayton offense off the dribble and expanding his range to three. And, big men that can shoot threes are a commodity in the NBA right now. He works his tail off, Deron Holmes. His motor and his just willingness to do all the dirty work all the time, combined with like the progression, like made him probably my favorite prospect in this class. Not from a like he's going to be the best prospect in this class perspective, but just like one of my like favorite not going to be the superstar of the class, but just like as an NBA player, I think he's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And I think like the fit in Denver is amazing. Like I love the idea of him as a backup to Jokic. First off, because he can space the floor. And second off is like he can initiate the offense, not obviously not to the level that Jokic can, but in some similar fashions that Jokic can, where he can handle the ball, he can initiate dribble handoffs. Like he's not gonna pull out some crazy Jokic pass or anything like that, but he can pass the ball. And so when you're operating as a backup to Jokic, you don't really have to change your offense too much when Deron comes onto the floor. So I absolutely loved the pick and am devastated right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So having said that, since you said there could potentially have 3 NBA rotation players, from their undrafted free agency, I was about to say, like, I thought maybe Jalen Williams would be the first to see some actual like big club playing time. But now, do you think PJ Hall could get a crack? Because now they actually do need center minutes,
As a small, he might, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
I mean, because they're back to square one, right? They're back to just not just, but it's Jokic, DeAndre Jordan, and from what I understand, like they're still trying to move Zeke Nnaji, right? I mean, I'm just in terms of depth to get them through the entire season, like because I thought Deron Holmes was gonna have a big role in my opinion, right? Like he was gonna. So that's why it's like, whoa, this is a massive blow to a team that's already, I wouldn't say in flux, but clearly KCP left, right? They're trying to find, a more consistent rotation again. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
They picked a bunch of guys that could join the rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fact. I think as a whole, injury aside, I really think this is like an A minus pick. Even trading up to 22 to get him, I think they got their guy. And I think he should have went off the board even sooner. He has
Yeah.
flashes of playmaking ability out of the post, which is what you want in today's modern post game. And he's shown that. I was a big proponent of why didn't he come out last year? Because there isn't much more that he could prove. Well, he proved me wrong in that sense, where he expanded his game and he was actually taking shots from the perimeter and hitting at a pretty good rate. So he expanded his game out and he expanded his post making ability. I had him, I think, 12th on my board when it came to be turned in. So I think he should have definitely been selected higher than this. And for that reason, I think they got a team fit of an A minus because they get their backup guy that could serve minutes with Jokic or without Jokic.
Your minus
I
it
go.
is.
Go for it. Yeah.
I mean, the undrafted free agency thing. Can we like this is the one? Do we give them just A's across the
Yeah, I was
board?
gonna say not to just like be lazy. I was gonna give him A's across the board and move to the
I think
next
so.
team.
No, I really think that they cleaned house getting PJ Hall, Trey Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Jameer Young.
I don't know.
I think they really killed it, and they were probably the first people on the phone with those guys even prior to the draft being completed, because those guys signed like immediately. I think they
Yeah,
got PJ Hall and Trey Alexander right away, and Jalen Williams right after that. So
crazy.
It's kind of like what the Sixers did last year when they got Council Tubelis and Turk, like
yeah,
Turquavian. Yep.
minutes after the
right off.
draft.
I think that overall they get an A, if not an A plus. Just doing
Yeah.
the legwork after the draft. I'd be cool with giving them an A plus. They might be really, really nice, honestly.
I just plus
Because
now.
I mean, looking at Deron Holmes, now you're gonna have a year to really mold him into your system without playing time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's gonna learn it. I think he's gonna come back really strong year two.
I know. Well, we're all rooting for him. So
All right,
ah,
the Pistons.
as the
The
co-host of
Pistons.
an informal Pistons podcast, yes, I guess.
Go ahead and take the lead here, Conrad.
Yeah, I mean, I personally like just personally, I love the Ron Holland pick. He was fourth on my big board, so obviously, like going into it, um, my co-host and I, he's born and raised from Detroit, so he's a diehard Pistons fan. Like I forced him to like watch film on like the top prospects. His favorite was also Matas, but you know, he he uh he really liked the Holland pick and he's definitely come around. I mean, in terms of the team needs, I mean, when you have a 14-win team, you can make an argument they need everything, right? But if we're just really looking at focusing on um as you can see, wow, there's a lot of red on that. Right? Um I mean, I understand like you could say like he doesn't necessarily address three-point shooting, which is fine. I think they address that though in free agency. So, but in terms of there we go. In terms of the red in assists, you know, I think they need more. I think the Pistons went into it saying they needed more secondary playmakers and ball handlers. I think the best version of Ron Holland, he can provide that, both in the open court and in the half court. They need guys to be able to manufacture like, looks in the paint and not just from the big man position. I think he does that too. So, I mean, all in all, um, I think he has obviously a lot of upside, but to me, his floor is like he's like a high end connector, like a high end glue guy. And that's what they need. They need to really start to have these guys to string along and make these lineups make sense. I think he's a big part of that. So yeah, I like the fit.
Conrad, I'm gonna come clean to you. I absolutely hated that pick when it initially happened. I was like, they just got Asar Thompson again for no reason. And then I realized Ron Holland served as the play initiator for G League Ignite last year, and he did it
Right,
well.
right.
So that even that being said, the G League Ignite was really, really, really bad last season.
Yeah,
That fit was just horrible, but he showed some real talented things. And I mean, he's averaging 20 points per game for the G League Ignite, playing against NBA level competition. That has to be that has to account for something.
yeah,
I think Ron Holland was second on my board. I really love Ron Holland, just didn't really like the fit. But put into perspective with a really fast lineup that they could put out there with Asar, him, Ivy, Cunningham, and Duran, that's a scary lineup for the next 2, 3 years if they develop them correctly.
yeah,
And getting Bickerstaff in there, he kind of changed the culture for the Cavs. They were not a winning franchise, so I think the move going forward, they might need to surround him with a little bit better shooting. Um, I don't know what their lineup's going to look like right off the bat at all. Like I said, but that lineup going forward might be scary. Even an undersized forward like Holland,
Yeah,
might be pretty scary. I mean, if they can get up and run.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, Julian, you have any thoughts about Ron Holland?
Yeah, he was second on my board too. I think I said it to you guys on Twitter one night. They're building all jump, no shoot over there in Detroit, which, to be honest, if any one of these guys develops a jump shot, all right, if two of these four guys out of Cade, Osar, Holland, and Jaden Ivey develop a consistent jump shot, then it doesn't matter which two, the Pistons are going to be really. Um, I think that's the way that I'll play. They're investing a lot of eggs into the kind of similar baskets, but they're so bad that it, and these guys' ceilings are so ridiculously high if the offensive game comes around, that if one or two of them, the offensive game comes around, they're going to have two superstars.
Yeah.
That's kind of if because I look at it from the same lens of like, who shoots. But I understand where they're going and what they're trying to do. And they do already have a solid center in Jalen Dirk. And they paid Cade Cunningham 200 something million.
Right.
He's going to be there. Safe to say.
Yeah, unless he pulls a Ben Simmons and decides not to play unless they trade him, he's going to be there. So I guess that's where we're starting.
Yep.
I would say that as a team fit, I would give them a B plus, just because it's so packed. And I wanted them to address shooting. Maybe that's my personal bias here, but I wanted them to address shooting. But Ron Holland, with the player he is in this class, and him being my second overall prospect, I really believe in his development. I don't think it was the best fit for him, but I can see taking best player available there. So I would say a B plus in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
somewhere between an A minus or a B plus. So I can go either way.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. When you win 14 games, you don't really know who's going to be on your team. You pick the best guy available.
Yeah.
Bobby Clintman.
Bobby, baby. Yeah.
Dude, I absolutely hated him as a prospect. He's frustrated me so much. His athletic ability is not there, but he's a good role player on the Pistons. That's what frustrates me so much. I understand
Yep.
the fit. That's what frustrates me. It's like he's a connective piece as a role player off the bench. He's not going to be a superstar, but he's going to give you valuable minutes, and he might knock down a shot or two, which is what they need. So I like him as a fit for the Pistons, not necessarily as a prospect, but
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and just say I'm gonna give him an A. I'm gonna give him an A because, like you said, in the sense that how he is a connective piece, a glue guy, like the Pistons, first of all, in terms of their need, he's like an actual true power forward, right? They've had a bunch of like threes play up a position. They've even had Isaiah Stewart play down a position, right? So he obviously fits. But I think what a lot of the Pistons fans who weren't familiar with Clintman's game, I think they saw last night was his passing chops. And I mean, again, when you have front court passing, especially like interior passing, just opens up so much, right? And there was no reason Tolu Smith should have had like the point blank looks he had last night, but that was directly created by Clintman. Again, it's just going back to the whole thing surrounding, Cade, even Duren, with just some more like intuitive players So I like it, you know. And again, early second rounder, I can't complain about that. So I'd say the fit A minus.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
I like the A minus. I do. Tolu.
I don't have much to say about him. He's cool. I love his work ethic, personality. That's about it. It's kind of he would have been great in 2010. Just doesn't really cut it in 2024, unfortunately for me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Is he is a big body center who has okay mobility, but doesn't really offer interior protection on the defensive end. So he's more of an offensive guy, who doesn't extend his range outside of, I would say, 7 feet. Um, I don't know if he makes an NBA roster, um, even in the future. Really, really strong work ethic. I hope he does. But I mean, I'm cool with giving him a C because it's a UDFA. I don't wish the worst on anybody.
Yeah, actually, I would probably because I agree with everything you guys said. I was actually telling my co-host on my pod that he wasn't very familiar with Tolu Smith's games. Everything that you guys said, he's like a undersized center who's a high energy undersized center, and I told him I'm just kind of skeptical that that type of game would translate to the NBA. You know, going up against actual like size and strength, right? You're not going up against other 6'8", 6'9" centers anymore. Um, because of the other guys that they've kind of brought in and seem to be prioritizing with their summer league minutes, other than Dennis Jenkins, I think Aaron Estrada is someone that might stick with them. You know, I think he's got like a
Guard,
path to two-way contract. Yeah, yeah,
guard depth, yep, and some
yeah,
shooting. He's a fun guy. I liked him at Alabama. He
yeah,
was really nice.
yeah. I think he could actually really, or I would say like guys like Sasser and Jaden Ivey would benefit playing with a shooting guard,
Hmm.
you know, like Estrada. Because let's remember, right? I mean, Sears benefited playing from Estrada, right? I mean, Estrada was technically his setup man. So, I mean,
Hmm.
you know, there's a path. And then again, yeah. So Smith, I agree with everything you said. And then just going forward to Dennis Jenkins, um, you know, definitely one of the most experienced, seniors in this draft class. You know,
He's
I think,
super
just
senior.
yeah, just bring a lot of stability. You know,
How old is he?
I'm cool with giving him a C. I don't know too much on what he would be offering that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. Um, but I don't. He could make a roster here soon, eventually as a back
so
end kind of guy.
Jenkins is already signed to one of their two-way slots.
Is he?
Yeah. So that's why I did think it was kind of interesting. And if I had to guess, again, like he's probably as close to a old school floor general that was available, you know, to them. I think because again, I don't think I don't really know. I don't really know what Jaden Ivey's best role is. He's definitely not a point guard. I know that. And he can't shoot well enough to be an exclusively a two. Sasser is definitely not a point guard. You
Yeah.
know, so I can understand their commitment. So we'll see. But I think of the guys that they seem to have brought in and are prioritizing with playing time. I think Estrada might stick around. So
Dennis Jenkins grade?
I'd still give him, yeah, like a C, C plus.
I would give him a C plus. Throw
Yeah.
him a C plus. He was on a two way. I think he
Yeah.
might be able to do something. Maybe late season. See how well he plays in the G League. I think he might actually do well in the G League. Um, just as a guy that can run the show and then score a little bit. So he might get a roster look at the very end of the season. All right. Overall draft grade for the Detroit Pistons.
I would say a B plus.
Yeah. I'm cool with the
Cool.
B plus.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Clipman, or Bobby. I always call him Bobby, like the guy from Jimmy Neutron. um, I think Holland was best player available, and then Bobby Klitman actually
Yeah.
adds some depth to that team. So I would go B plus A minus, one of those two.
Yeah. All
Conrad,
right.
boys.
That's
Conrad
right.
back to back.
I mean, you know what? I want the big man guru to start us off here. You
Go ahead
know,
and start us off, big man.
I
Guru.
think Dub Nation, they did their Googling and their YouTube to figure out who Quinton Post is, but yeah, tell them why this is a good pick, Julian.
Right. So I have been on the Quentin Post as an NBA player bandwagon for about a year and a half.
You make it
Yeah.
sound like this is like an AA meeting.
I've
I've
recently joined the club as well.
I've been on the Quentin Post bandwagon for like the entire season. I think I was on the bandwagon last year as well. So Post does the floor spacing so well. And so there's two things of these that make him a great fit for the Warriors. One, he's a floor spacer. Um, and two, he like it's kind of just like it's the most basic thing ever. He passes the ball out of the post. He can shoot the three, and he can create his own shot off the dribble enough that you're not like, it's not Tragic Bronson or you're like, why is this guy putting the ball on the floor? Um, when he has it. He just has a really diverse offensive skill set for a big man. And people are going to say things about his defense. I know that, but he's actually a decent defender. I think you could
Yes.
run some interesting lineups out there with him and Trey Jackson Davis on the floor at the same time. I would be really, really interested to see that going forward if they run a front court lineup of Kuminga, Trace, and Quentin Post. Like
Whoa.
him and Trace would be a really interesting pair together because you can have Trace operate out of the post and not have a big man who's kind of like, condensing the space
Yeah.
and, clogging the lane because Post can space the floor in that way. And you can kind of do this fun little offense where you have Trace operate as a primary post playmaker and screener while having a second big man out there on the floor who can also I think that's kind of like if I'm the Warriors, I would experiment with that at least once this season.
Intriguing. Intriguing.
That's
I mean,
my post.
yeah, no, I think that's perfect. And I think you probably have Warrior fans even more excited. Um, at least, from a Warrior fan's perspective, what are two things that they really wanted, right? More size, like an actual like someone taller than 6'11", and floor spacing, ideally from the front court. You get all of it in Quinton Post, right? Um, it sounds like right now they're gonna sign him to a two-way contract, just because we're hard capped at the first apron. So I think that's probably the most direct way to accommodate him for the time being. But I mean, yeah, I uh I love your summary and I love his fit with the Warriors. I mean, it's like the most direct, and logical fit. And especially given that he was available, that late in the draft, I was pretty pleased by that. So, I mean, in terms of fit, I'm giving him an A. Yeah, I don't know if that makes me a homer or not, but it just, yeah, you see what he did at BC, and he's such a maybe it's because he's an older prospect, but he's such an intuitive screener. You know what I'm saying? Like that way, he's in a way almost like creating his shot opportunities. You know, simply by already knowing where to set a screen off ball. So I'm excited.
Hey, for me, I mean, I'm a Quentin Post believer, so I might also be biased. Cody might be the only unbiased party in here.
I would definitely give him an A minus. he addresses the fit, and the Warriors front office understand fit. Probably the best in the league. I think over the next few years, they're going to see a lot of interesting moves with a lot of the core Dub Nation players getting up there in age, but he may be one of those players that can serve a role. And I mean, so much of their shots are coming from the outside. Why not take a guy that's 7'1", that can run the pick and pop and play off of some of their players that, I mean, it's just a fit that works for sure. I think an A minus. But you guys think A. I mean, I'm cool with an A. He addresses the fit. He addresses the fit.
It is.
Yeah, and I'm an unbiased opinion. I am from Northern California, but I think with given the selections prior and him still being there at 52 and offering some value as a role player who can honestly, the reason why the Warriors were so efficient were players playing within the system that they set as well as knowing their role. And he fits that culture very well. So I really like their UDFA guys too. I think Reese Beekman he should have been drafted. He's two-time defensive player of the year at Virginia in the ACC, which is really tough. And he's just a traditional point guard who can defend like no one else. He's just an on-ball pest, and I think that he slides in with the backup point guard role going forward with whatever happens to Steph Curry in the next 3 to 4 years. Right around that trajectory, Pods is going to be on the team as well as probably Kaminga, TJD. So we're going to see a young, youthful team, which who knows what's going to happen, but having somebody that is reliable to guard the primary point of attack, I mean, there's nothing more you can ask for.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to understand, especially I think amongst us. We did our homework on Reese Beekman. We're familiar with his game, so they completely, they absolutely prioritized signing him. So he's already, signed him to a 2-way on draft night. While you were in SAC for that Cali Classic, I was at Chase Center for the other Cali Classic. So I mean, I think when you're at a game, you're not forced to just watch what the cameras are on. So even though he's a terrific, like you said, like an amazing on-ball defender, point of attack, what he does off-ball, you said in terms of being like a defensive menace, like why were there no open guys to shoot, like to pass the ball to, because they're all being like, discombobulated or being like pushed off their spots. I like it. I think most fans will be like, oh, we want him to shoot the 3 ball better. I agree. But I mean, like already what he brings to the table, there's, like I said, I agree. There's a defined role for him. So I like it.
As a table
I would
setter,
yeah, seriously, his assist rate was upwards of 40% last season on a Virginia team that didn't run.
Didn't score.
They didn't score. They didn't score at all, and he was the leading scorer as well as the leading assist player for their team, as well as led the league in steals. He can't shoot very well, but we found so many of these niche guys that can just be defensive menaces and offer real value to teams. I mean, you look at the undersized point guards that have made a career out of this.
Right.
I think he could be that next wave of guys, or at least a part of it.
Agreed.
I think that honestly, whether he fits with the team, I know the Warriors like to run, and that's not really his MO is running and getting out. He played in the traditional system under Tony Bennett at Virginia, but I think he's adaptable. and defense translates. So I want to give him something more than a C.
Yeah.
I would like to see maybe a B minus for that.
I'm in favor. I like Reese.
Yeah. I'm with you guys on that.
Yeah.
So we can just cross out Alan Flanagan. He didn't show up.
Well, that's
What?
exciting.
Yeah, no, he's not with the Warriors. So I'm not
What?
like yeah. And he backed out. So I'm not really sure where he is, if he's with another team or if there's some kind of injury concern. But yeah, I was looking forward to having him and seeing him on our summer league team. But no,
Man,
NA.
I actually had a conversation with him at Portsmouth. He was a nice guy.
yeah. No, I'm not saying like there's anything, I'm not saying there's anything shady about it, but for whatever reason, yeah,
No, I
like they just said
like it would have
turned
been
out
cool.
he was not going to be part of the Warriors summer league team, so that sucked because I was looking, definitely looking forward to that. But on this list,
I love that guy.
Montas, man.
I love that guy.
This
He's so
guy
cool.
is effing fun, man.
I
Dude,
have
he's so
not
cool.
gotten to see any Montas. He's like a player. I saw less of the international guys than I would have liked.
Mhm.
He's one I never really got to check out. So I would love to hear the rundown on Mantes Rubes de Vicius.
I have no clue how to say his last name, but I
Yeah, I know.
evaluated him for on the clock. He's fun. He's a 6'8" guard, who shows real guard ability with that 6'8" size. And he can shoot the ball like really, really well. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he shot 40% last season for the NBL. I think he was on the Breakers. Yeah, he was on the Breakers last season.
Yeah.
And he was one of those players in the Next Stars program who actually got some run. So I think he averaged like 9 points per game or something like that, and I think he was around 20 minutes per game. But he's a guy going forward. If you want somebody to just spot shoot and possibly defend a little bit, I'm not saying that he's like Joe Ingles on defense, but his shot looks very, very pretty.
I mean, even before I saw him up close at the California Classic when I scouted him, it's funny, right? You don't usually associate like physicality with a catch and shoot wing player, but that's exactly how he plays, especially when he attacks a closeout, man. Like he just like belays himself into defenders. He has no problem absorbing contact. He's quickly become a fan favorite on this Warriors Summer League team. I think fans are starting to pick up on that. I would love for him to be able to come to a training camp with the Warriors. Because right now, if it's true that Quinton Post is going to sign one of the two-way contracts, then that means Beekman, Post, and currently we have Pat Spencer, Cam Spencer's older brother, on the third one. Because I would love to see Montes on a two-way slot because there's definitely no room for him right now on the 15-man roster. I'm not sure he'd be willing to just go to a training camp with no guarantees, and bypass a guaranteed contract, whether that's NBL or overseas. So, but I mean, yeah, I'm glad that they were able to have him join the team because you could definitely see him being an NBA rotation player. Like it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked it out yet, his FIBA tape from last season, he scored 37 for Lithuania, where he played as a primary play initiator. So he
Yeah.
played point guard at 6'8". So he really shows off that point guard mentality. He's fun. It would be fun to see him in Santa Cruz as well if he's going to the G League.
Yeah.
Might have to look up some Mantes Rubes de Vicius stats. Or no, not stats. Why did I say stats?
I
What
don't
would
know
you
if
give
you
him on a
pronounced
grade?
his name correctly, but that was good.
That was good. Yeah, no, I just call
they didn't
him
even
Montas.
try on the broadcast on ESPN. They're like, no.
What would you give him a grade, Conrad?
A-.
Yeah, I would say without bias, I would give him probably a B or a B plus. It would be cool to see him on a roster somewhere, and if he could possibly get some run somewhere, because I think there's real talent.
Yeah.
Just it kind of got overlooked because he was kind of a lot of these guys get put away into a box if they're overseas.
Yeah.
And I think he was one of those that the Alex Sarr, Bobby Clinton, AJ Johnson train came along and he just kind of got stored away because
Yeah.
he's an older prospect. I think he's 21 now.
It's a kid.
So,
Still a kid.
so
Yeah. So the overall draft grade.
I think they kind of killed it. I would give him a B plus A minus. Honestly, one of
Yeah.
those two.
I was gonna say A-. I really, yeah. I think we all like Quinton Post, and I just see a real NBA player in Reese Beekman. So I
Yeah,
mean, for that
same.
reason, A-.
Yeah, that would be. Oh,
Okay, just like go ahead, give him an A.
yeah,
Houston Rockets, just skip
honestly,
ahead. We will analyze, but just give him an A already.
yeah, I think we should just give them before we talk about it. Just they deserve an A. Like, I
Stone
mean,
is killing it. Stone is killing it. Yeah.
did he pick
I
up
think that
one?
front office is killing it. They have a lot of young talent, and I think Reed Shepherd slides right into a role that they were missing. So I would honestly, this is like an A plus for me, but I'm a Rockets fan, so it's
I
very
mean,
very biased.
Put the plus.
But he is absolutely destroying people in summer league. He looks very good on high usage. The usage just scaled up with the same amount of efficiency. So I really really like it.
I mean,
And
look,
Yeah.
he gets to learn under Fred VanVleet for at least the next 2 seasons.
that's bad for like. I think I had them when we did our mock. Um, and I like rambled for probably 5 or 10 minutes why Reed Shepherd was a perfect fit for Houston when I picked him in our mock. I could go on that same rant again, but like the short version is like they have two guys on their team who need the ball in their hands. Reed Shepherd is a guy who can be damaging without the ball, needing to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
I had question marks going into the draft whether he was really a 1 or 2 guard. Which honestly, I don't really care. I don't care. I think that he serves well with the ball in his hands, and then his off ball is really really good, just as is. I might be overreacting a little bit, but he did look really good with and without the ball.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I don't think
I
it's an
don't.
overreaction. If we believe our pre-draft analysis of him, then no, it's not an overreaction, right? So, I mean, the only question I had going into the draft was, were the Rockets actually going to keep the number 3 overall pick? Were they going to trade out altogether? Were they going to be able to find a deal, or were they going to trade down, and try, take advantage of whatever, Portland or Memphis trying to trade up? But I think we were all in agreement if they stayed there, it had to have been Reed. So, I mean, it's a great pick. The only thing I wonder now is how long until he becomes a starter. But
Who gets traded
Yeah,
first, Jalen Green or Fred VanVleet?
so yeah,
Fred VanVleet. I think
has
that
to be.
yeah, I think that they're gonna jump ship. And it might be for a low cost. Somebody to just take on the contract because I don't know how long they can keep him waiting in the wings. Honestly, if he
Yeah, fair.
continues this same production, I really don't know because they're they're a team that has missed the playoffs 4 straight years, and they're looking to chase that playoff, even if it's a play-in spot. With that young core, they're just trying to get their feet wet. So
Right.
who knows? But going forward, I don't know how much of that core will really be with them. I think they're going to pick 4 guys going forward, and I do believe that Reed Shepherd is a guy going forward. Also, Cam Whitmore, I think, is part of the team. Jabari, and then it'll be really interesting to see if they go Alp Green or if they go Jalen Green.
Yeah.
Going forward, and then Tarius, and I mean he's not a starter per se, but he could slot in there. But I think it'll be interesting because those guys' contract, I think, comes up next season. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Cool.
And Folly Dante, I was excited that they signed him. I was. His stats are really nice. He's a really, really good post guy. He's big, 7 foot. He's an enforcer down low. The only real reason why he's really dropped is he is a little bit older as a prospect.
Right.
I could see him being a G League guy for a couple of seasons and maybe cracking the roster as a backup to a backup big. I don't think he's going to be a starter anytime soon or anything like that, or even at all.
Yeah, he's got an injury problem too. I'm a big Oregon basketball fan, so I was always disappointed when probably Dante would inevitably get hurt, miss a bunch of games, and the team would stink.
Yeah, I'm cool with giving him a C. I mean, there's nothing spectacular about him. I don't, like I said, I really don't think that he will find a roster spot on the Rockets
Yeah.
anytime soon at all, if at all. But okay,
Indiana.
Stick with me. Indiana Pacers killed this draft with value picks.
Okay.
It's like they went to Walmart and just picked up some off-brand stuff, and then you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Like that's what I think they did here. So the Indiana Pacers at 35 picked up Johnny Furphy. I'm not the biggest Johnny Furphy fan, but he was invited to the green room on day one, and he is a project guy, which this team loves projects, and they
Yes.
have built their roster entirely on projects. They're like the land of the misfit toys. So honestly, I think he spends some time in the G League and actually becomes a decent role player, like a Doug McDermott or something, obviously with more defense. But I think that he can shoot. I think he showed that he can shoot, and he's a little bit more athletic than Doug McDermott, obviously. But at 35, getting a 19-year-old who is a project guy, you can mold him really into whatever you want.
If Jarris Walker doesn't end up, like if Jarris Walker spends another year in the G League, that G League team is going to be kind of stacked.
It's insane.
They're going to be so stacked. If they have Tristan Newton, Enrique Freeman, Johnny Murphy, and Jarris Walker on their G League team.
And Oscar Shibwe.
Oh,
Oscar
yeah.
Shibwe, Kendall Brown,
Yep.
you know.
Crazy.
Yeah. They have way too much young talent.
They do. I love the Pacers and I love their player development. And I've been high on all their young guys that they've been developing and kind of stashing in the G League. I might be higher on Isaiah Wong than others, but he's like the first guy to have been cut. You know, he's now with Phoenix because this is now an actual logjam, you know?
Yeah. No, seriously.
Because there isn't a single player on that list, even if you include the undrafted guys. There isn't a single player I dislike, you know what I'm saying? And you see, you can already envision like how they would plan to develop each of them, you know? But again, right, we're limited to the number of roster spots we have, right? So I don't know. I don't know. But for what it is, I like it. Obviously, I'm just gonna skip around here. I like Enrique Freeman. So I mean,
Enrique Freeman at 50 is that's a value pick. He is insane on the boards.
yeah,
And he's started to shoot from the outside, so he's like not only with his post play, because he knew at 6'8" he couldn't predominantly play the post. So he started to shoot a little bit more. And he's a hustle player. He's exciting.
Yeah, he's completely like 2 years ago. I remember someone told me he was an NBA guy, like he was a prospect, and I laughed. Uh, which like no, like he's a 6'9" post player at Akron. What am I gonna say? Like, yes, this guy's gonna play in the NBA. But the player that he's developed into is like a real NBA player. It's insane how much can change for some of these guys in the course of 2 seasons. Like Freeman is the embodiment. Freeman and Kevin McCullough and Deron Holmes, in my opinion, are the embodiment of that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you also looking at this list, I mean, Tristan Newton, that's a value pick. That is
Oh
an
yeah.
absolute value pick. Him at East Carolina transferring to UConn and then leading that team to consecutive national championships. I mean, he played real big roles in both of those games.
He did. He
Um,
did.
and getting him at 49 just as a table setter. And he's big. He can do pretty much everything on the court. He rebounds, he makes the right passes, he's super efficient. I mean, getting him at 49 is a steal. I think they knocked it out of the park in my opinion.
No, I'm just gonna go ahead and give him an A.
Yeah, so breaking it down, we got Johnny Furphy. What do you guys think with that team fit?
B plus.
I'm
Yeah.
cool with that. The value at 35 for Furphy was pretty enticing for me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Even if at worst he's just a project player. I mean,
Yeah. 35 can't go wrong with that.
Tristan Newton, I like Tristan Newton.
Oh,
I really do. I think that he's an A minus. I think he's an NBA player. I do. Now whether that be when they get away from PJ McConnell, um, probably. I mean, I don't think Halliburton's going anywhere anytime soon. And then Andrew Nembhard may play that combo guard role. But there's a lot of guys on that roster that can substitute in, but I think he'll find a way onto the roster
Yeah.
within the next 2 seasons. And then Enrique Freeman. I honestly think that he's an A minus too. He's just a hustle player. They do have a logjam with Siakam, with
6'9" bigs.
Obi Toppin. Yeah, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker. Who's their three?
Isaiah Jackson.
Isaiah Jackson.
Do they still have
Um,
James Smith?
No, he went to
no, Jalen Smith
Chicago.
left.
They lost
Good for
James
him.
Smith.
And I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
Good for him. You know.
yeah. But they
Oh,
they have
oh,
a
but they brought in James
Ben,
Wiseman.
yeah, and Ben Mathurin played the three.
Yeah.
I think that if anything, he could find rotational minutes probably within the next 2 years, just because he's a hard nosed player. He
Yeah.
may not crack the rotation 2 years, but they're gonna have to figure out what to do with that roster going forward because they have too much talent in its logjam.
Yeah.
Lance Jones, I don't know too much about Lance Jones. He's a Purdue guy. I think he could shoot a little bit. Am I right on that? He's an
Yes.
off-ball guy with Braden Smith.
He's really just an off-ball guy.
Okay.
So no playmaking
Okay.
really of any sort, which is hey, that's fine. He knows what he does. So yeah,
I'm cool with giving those guys C's.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jordan James should have came out like 4 years ago.
Oh my
I
God.
swear to
Yeah.
God, every single draft cycle, I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of interesting. And then he reclassifies and goes back to Tennessee. All right, next team. Who do we got? Oh,
Oh,
yikes.
the overall draft grade. Wait. What was the overall draft grade for
Oh, my
Indiana?
bad. Honestly, in my opinion, maybe an A minus.
Yeah,
I really like them.
I'm fine with that. They
I
did really
agree.
good.
Like I said, they went to Walmart and found some stuff that was actually pretty good for great value.
Speaking of value,
Yikes. This team also frustrates me.
this team traded away its future and somehow ended up with nothing.
Traded away its future, ended up with nothing, and then
Yep.
continues to sign guys that are borderline NBA players. Just given the right situation at that time.
Oh boy, the Los Angeles Clippers they might be the worst organization in the NBA.
Yeah. This is not a great way to open up their new arena.
Losing
pretty
Paul
crazy.
George.
Losing Paul George, having Kawhi always hurt.
I mean,
Who are you gonna roll out there?
the
James
optics of
Harden?
him having to withdraw, basically being forced to withdraw from the Olympic team, right? Doesn't exactly inspire much confidence in your fan base, right?
No. I mean, they're an old team with no depth on their roster.
Yeah,
They look like the Brooklyn Nets, or just were the Brooklyn Nets,
just more expensive.
just
Yeah.
more expensive. But I'm
Um,
pretty sure.
I guess we
I
can
don't
just
know.
go. We can breeze. Well, not breeze, but we can go through this real quick. I mean,
Cam Christie at 46 for the Los Angeles Clippers.
Eh, I don't love it.
Dude, I didn't like Cam Christie. He was like my 60th ranked prospect. I
Yeah,
didn't like him.
see,
His shot looks beautiful. His shot looks beautiful, but it doesn't go in.
can't drive. Cannot drive to save his life. It's a big problem, at least from when I was watching his game. I mean, we just talked about two guys at 49 and 50 that would have been better picks for them.
Oh,
And
easily. Tristan Newton could come in and play minutes.
like, yeah, they missed on two guys who probably give them minutes this year.
What do you think, Cam Christie here, Conrad?
um, simply put, I don't think very highly of him. So, no, but I mean, like, well, all right, fine. I'll be a smart aleck. Yeah, I mean, like you said, he can't drive. If he puts the ball on the floor, it's over. So, in other words, he'll fit right in with their other current wings, right?
Yeah.
So,
No, seriously. What's the
I
difference
mean,
between him and Amir Coffey
yeah,
or Brandon Boston?
Bones Island.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the same thing that we're seeing
Um,
over and over again.
yeah, did they address an area of need? I mean, you could say
Roll
positionally,
over
but
just a little bit.
yeah, like,
Let's go ahead and take a look.
oh yeah,
We're
go
looking
for it.
for 3-point shooting. That's what he does, and they shot sixth best in 3-point shooting. So I I don't know how much of this is going to be taken away because of Paul George.
Probably everything in the scoring column.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
in Paul George's absence, I'm not saying it's going to be complete Harden Rockets basketball, but I could definitely see it becoming way more heliocentric. Uh,
old Harden.
yeah, right.
That's
Because there's just they now have a lack of playmaking. These uh draftees don't address it. Their free agency acquisitions don't address it.
no,
Um,
They have Russell.
honestly, I mean, like, especially saying it now, they are creating like the free agents that they brought in. It's as if they are recreating the Harden Rockets like formula, you know?
literally. No,
Yeah.
seriously. Mike D'Antoni should be their head coach.
You
Like
can't
I
have
don't
Daryl
understand.
Morey trying to be Daryl Morey and someone else trying to be Daryl Morey at the same time.
Cam Christie fit. I would honestly say a C. I mean, I don't. I mean, they're shooting for upside, obviously here. Maybe a
You're,
C minus. Honestly, I'm being gracious.
you're kinder than I am.
Yeah, I'm being
Yeah, the
very gracious
only
here.
the only guy I think has some potential that he could realistically realize is maybe Trenton Flowers.
Yeah.
But
Going back to the high school tape.
yeah, that's what you're gonna have to
Yeah,
kind of
but
lean on.
Trent Flowers is an interesting player because he was a point guard in high school, but they didn't use him as a point guard in the NBL, so he didn't really get to show that or develop
Right.
it. He got developed into a wing. He does have size and stuff, but do we trust the Clippers development?
What did they
I
develop?
mean, if
I
you're
don't know.
using right, who was it? Brandon Boston and all them as precedents,
Exactly.
Kobe Johnson, or was it Kobe Johnson or Keon Johnson? I can't remember which one they had.
Keon.
Keon.
Kobe Brown.
Go, okay, here you go. Kobe Brown and Keon
Kobe
Johnson.
Brown.
There you go.
Exactly. I don't know their track record, so honestly, what are you thinking for Cam Christie here?
I was actually gonna go D plus.
I was
Okay.
giving it an
Yeah.
F.
Okay.
Let's shoot it down the middle. Let's go D.
There you go.
Everyone's always afraid to give out Fs, man.
No, but
Yeah,
I think you guys, I think that's a really good point because not only are there questions about his actual game, but then the fit, that's what it is, right? The team's
Oh yeah.
ability to develop him. So for that reason, yeah, I understand
Oh
why he
shit.
is a low
No,
grade.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a D minus, honestly. That putting that in perspective, honestly. Because I don't see where he can fit in. I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, I theoretically yes I can because he's an off ball shooter and everyone needs
Oh,
those. But
look at that. Oh no, Corey Brewer. He just retweeted my tweet.
hey,
It's pretty cool.
What'd you tweet?
I just said Corey Brewer. He looked good in the big three today. He hasn't played in the NBA in 4 years, man. You win. Apparently he came across it, man.
hey, shout out
I didn't
Corey
tag
Brewer.
him, so that's pretty cool, man.
Shout out Corey Brewer.
Some people, I'm sure, just tweet, like, look up their name on Twitter.
Yeah, shit, man. If I was a little bit more famous, why?
Yeah, I would do that.
Going down.
RG Dennis, he's not gonna get anything. I think he's a barely an NBA prospect, honestly. I think he's better
Yeah,
served in the early. He's like a Mike James.
Yeah.
yeah. I was actually gonna say, yeah, probably like a D. You know, that's pretty crazy too, if you really think about it, that they couldn't even get the best available undrafted free agents.
If
Like
Trey
the
Alexander goes there, I'm happy.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
How crazy is that? But I'm happy for that
Like what did they
because I think
sell?
Trey Alexander can actually come in and contribute off the bench.
Yeah. Trenton Flowers, I'll give him a C.
Yeah, I
I
think
would
that
say,
he could have been drafted.
Yeah.
yeah, C plus, honestly, because he was one of the top UDFA guys because of his, I mean,
Yeah.
his intangibles at least, impossible potential. I think overall draft grade they have to get at least a D,
I
if
think they
not
deserve
worse.
an F. I
I'm cool
think,
with giving them that.
I
They didn't
mean,
address anything.
the fact that their one pick didn't address anything and they did nothing really with the undrafteds. I love Ray J. Dennis, but I do think he's probably going to go to Europe. Um, like what did they lost? They lost their best player in terms of availability plus talent, and they, yeah, they didn't bring anything.
I mean, it's not just that they lost Paul George, like his talent, they lost his salary spot. You know, they don't have the means to actually even try to bring in other players, right? So, I mean, but again, I know that's free agency, but still, you know, now that you factor in what these guys don't do or address, yeah. I'm cool giving him an F.
Yeah,
If you want to give him like a D minus just because you believe Cam Christie can play or do something, okay. But
no. I
Okay.
really don't. I really don't like that front office.
Oh,
They don't they what I feel like they're doing is they're trying to make a name for themselves, or they tried to make a name for themselves, because they are the second in a big market, in LA, and they swung and missed. And
yeah.
I feel like they're playing the Brooklyn Nets fiddle right now, because the Knicks are the number one and the Lakers are the number one, so they're trying to make that impact boom, and it didn't work for them. So now they're reaping the cost of doing so.
Man. Well, this is the part where it gets exciting, but unfortunately, I gotta get going, guys. So
No worries.
I
Should we do a
know.
part two sometime or something?
Yeah, no, I'm down for a part two.
Yeah, let's do a part two because I want to be on the Lakers segment.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
we got Lakers and Sixers at some point too.
I know.
yeah, I'm down for a part two.
All right, sounds good.
All right, y'all.
All right,
Catch you
enjoy the
next time.
summer league games.
We'll do.
Uh,
See y'all.
take care, guys.
See you boys.